3, 2, 1. It's time for the show.
Action.
You're listening to the It's My Time podcast, a recording of the experiences past and present of everyday people. And now, here's your host, the one and only Asher Chua.
Today, I'm going to be speaking with Mr. LaRon Bell, good friend of mine from college. We've known each other now over 10 years, 11 years at this point was when we met. Our first year of college, he was my RA, my resident assistant, and basically supposed to help you kind of navigate college your first year, teach you the ropes, where to go, resources that are available to you, basically point you in the right direction. And Ron did that for me and much more as a good friend, just looking out, helping somebody that's new to the campus, new to the area. And as you get a chance to hear from him, you'll have a chance to see like how his personality really shines through.
And we're literally driving at like 5 miles per hour. What is going on, man? And then so I instantly like pulled in. When I looked over to the right, Are you recording right now?
Yep.
Okay. When I looked over to the right while I was driving, I'm familiar with this center called the Epic Center. And it's like a gymnasium. It has a whole bunch of eateries and stuff like that. It's like kind of like a little attraction in the Lithia Springs area. And there were just like trucks, like huge moving trucks that are like, holding equipment. There were like trailers and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is happening right next to my job in freaking Lithia Springs. Like literally 2 minutes, Asher. I left my house. I left my job and I'm on the road for 2 minutes and I see cops flashing. And, we're black. Every time we see cop lights flashing, we always get scared. So I was a little bit scared at first. And then all of a sudden I see traffic. I'm like, there's never traffic here. I've been driving here for the last, there's never traffic here. And then I see that car on the track. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of a movie. Like, I was like, yo. I just like turn in to the parking lot, and the first thing I do is like I try to find a parking spot that's away from the trailers because I don't want to impose or something like that. So I went up there and I saw a couple guys walking into the building. It looks like they were trying to get something to eat. I saw this older black gentleman, and I approached him. I was like, hey sir, how are you? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. How are you? I was like, hey, is there by chance a movie being shot right here? He was like, yes. There are 2 movies being shot right here, and he was like, one's for a Sundance film and another one is, for one I'm working on. And he was telling me about it. And then another guy walked up. What was that guy's name? Guy's name was, I think it was Chris. And he was telling me like about all the different things that happened. There's like labor unions and like all these events and stuff that happened. And to me, I was still in shock. Or, my mind wasn't like really all there. Usually I'm really, really good at memorizing names and like what in conversations, but I was so in shock that I was just like, I'm like in the middle of a movie set that like I was just listening and trying to comprehend and like try to have a conversation and not have a fanboy moment, just fan out. And lo and behold, like, so what he said was like, if you really want to, get into this, he's like, I admire you for, for having that courage to come up and talk. So like, if you have time, you really want to check out the Sundance film over there. Cause that's really like, that's where the art is. Cause when I told him about what I like to do, I was honest about, being a DJ, even though it's it's not my full-time thing, it's just a part-time thing. I'm a main IT guy, data center engineer, but just film, TV, like just like creation, like just the artistic expression of it is what really means a lot to me. And I guess a lot of people don't really care. I realize that a lot of people don't care about the art. Like, right. They just care about that check. Like, that's what he said too. He's like, oh man, he's like, I really I appreciate you saying that. And he's like, even though I'll be honest, I'm right here right now for a check. And I was like, oh yeah, you got to pay bills. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't hold you for that. But he was like, if you have that passion that I can see, you need to go over there to that Sundance. Because he's like, because this thing over here, I guess like the truck. I found out actually it wasn't a film. It was actually a TV show. He's like, it's just a machine. It's just like get out, just a machine. But if you want art, go to the Sundance film over there. And like, I let the time, and I was like, can't do it today. I got to go pick up my kid. So I went to go pick him up. And then today I went over on my lunch break. And man, when I tell you, I met the first guy I met, Roger. He stepped out of a Cadillac. I approached him. He was the one that told me that the name of the film was Dreamer, that they were shooting over there for the Sundance Festival. And then we started talking about Caribbean islands, because I noticed he had a bracelet on his hand, and I could tell it was a Caribbean bracelet from St. Croix. Then somebody came in. I guess like his cue came in. I don't know if he's an actor or what he is, but he was like, it was a nice talking to him. He walked in and talked to him. So then I went inside, kind of like hung around for a second, like, you know, not trying to be too creepy, not trying to be too out of place, trying to follow the same mannerisms as everybody else that was there, like the young black people that were there. And you know what the crazy thing was too, is that like they were wearing, one guy literally wearing the exact headphones that I just bought. They're like $15 headphones from Walmart. I never.
The ones you have on now?
No. See,
not those.
These are $15. These are $15 ones too, but these are Bluetooth.
Oh, okay.
I got these for work because I've been using my wired ones at work for the past couple months, and like it doesn't work. Like I can't do what I have to do and not have to worry about tripping over. Okay, one time I'm gonna pull my laptop off the desk.
Ooh.
But no, he was wearing those. The other guy was wearing like I think a fancier version of it, and
right.
So I really appreciate the fact that like they came up to me, introduced themselves to me, and then some important person started talking to them. So after that important person, I think he was actually the main actor. Yeah, he's one of the main actors in the scene. After he finished talking to them, I broke the awkward silence and tapped them both on the shoulders simultaneously and said, "Hey, sorry to be, asked this question here. I don't want to be that awkward guy, but is this a private closed session?" It's like I'm just a huge fan, and they were like, "Oh yeah," like they looked around. And they were like, "Yeah, it kind of is, but actually, if you just like kind of like stand in the back and like you make sure you're out of the way, you should be fine, and as long as somebody doesn't ask you to leave." But he's like, "But if somebody comes up to you and asks you to leave, then I was like, yeah, I gotta go. I understand." Then they said, he's like, "Actually, you know what? We're not shooting upstairs anymore. So if you go upstairs, I'm sure that'd be perfect because we're not set up there." I was like, "All right, cool." So I went upstairs and got scared because there was a big ass lights. Like he was telling me to go stand. So I'm like, I'm not going by that. And then I went over. I went to another way. And I saw a whole bunch of people, and I don't know if those people were about to film or not. But I was like, I'm not getting there. So I walked back downstairs, and I actually went to leave. But when I left, I saw two people on a break: black guy with a blue hat and a white guy with no hat. And I introduced myself to them and told them the same exact thing, like, "Hey, I'm a huge fan." And they were telling me about. That's how I found out that the car on a trailer was actually a TV show called Boomerang, which I don't even know what that show is. I know the movie Boomerang. I don't know the TV show Boomerang. I think I saw a commercial for it. I don't know, but
I think it may be on Amazon if you look it up.
Okay, yeah, I need to do that just to check it out. But so one guy, like, I mean, clearly they were like one guy. I saw he was eating some snacks, so clearly he was on a break. And after like 2 minutes of talking, he was like, "Hey man, it's really nice meeting you, but I got to run in and give somebody their makeup or something."
Yeah.
Like that. So but then the other guy, Joey, he actually the first thing he noticed was my headphones that I was wearing.
Yeah.
And I said that I was an audio guy, like I'm really into producing and like grip and microphones and headphones, blah blah blah. And like he pointed at my headphones, he's like, "I see your headphones, so we're already buddies." Even though I don't know if he was like joking or not, because like I said, these are 15 Bluetooth headphones, but I don't know. Anyways, so then he starts to say, like, he's like, "Yeah, man, if you got some time, come on back and I can have you listen in and show you some stuff and look at a card." And I was like, "Are you serious? Like are you for real right now?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, man." And I was like, "Okay." And then I started to walk away, and he started to walk back in the building. And he was like, "So you want to see the stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, you meant like right now?" Like, yeah, man. I was like, but I was like stuttering. I was like, "But I don't want to like. I'm not actually like a part of a union." He was like, "Man, don't worry about that. Come on here." He was like, "It's better to ask for forgiveness and permission." And I was like, "I'm not that guy." And he's like, "Dude, come in here. I'll get in trouble before you do." I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go." So he takes me over to his cart, his audio cart. He's like going through stuff, and he pulls out an audio pack. And he like hands it to me. He's like, plug your headphones in there, and then like you can listen in on what we're doing. I was like, oh no. I was like, these are actually Bluetooth speakers. I don't have an aux cable right now. And he's like, oh dude, don't worry about it. He went back to the car, got the headphones, gave it to me. He was like, but I got to get this back. Better not leave with this. So I was like, no, of course. So then like he walks me over to this like sound rig where this other guy is sitting. I don't know the other guy's name, but he was real calm, cool, collected, and chill. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, man, just like stand right here and and listen, and I gotta go do this stuff, and then see you later. I was like, okay, like so literally, dog, this is so genuine right now. I'm literally watching a movie scene on a small little like display on the movie cart while this audio guy is like putting up volume, and I'm hearing the audio like the like, you know what? I was gonna react the scene, but before copyright issues, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Like, oh man, like the scene, it was amazing. Like they did it like 2 times, and I almost cried because I was watching like film be created, like art. I was like, oh man, like I was having troubles like even like standing still, but I was like, I gotta do it. And I looked at the time, and it was like 1:07. I was like, I got a meeting with Asher. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go back to work. We gotta talk. So I shook that guy's head. I was like, thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. I got to run back to work, man. I really appreciate it. So he's like, all right, great meeting you, man. And I left. And then I was looking for Joey, but the scene was going. So I was like, I'm pretty sure Joey's holding the boom mic right now. So I was like, I'm not going to just leave it here and then walk out. Nope, never going to do that. So I wrapped up his headphones real neatly. I put the audio thing. I switched it off. I put it with the headphones. And like I waited patiently for like to be a break, and then you texted me too, like at 1:14, like when you awesome. I gotta
wait. The audio keeps cutting out. Like say that again. When I texted you.
When you texted me, I was like, I saw the text. I was like, awesome. Like in my mind, I'm thinking because it's like I cannot call you when I'm on this movie scene right now. Yeah. I was literally though, like right after I texted you, the scene broke, and I handed him the headphones and boom thing, and I forgot one pivotal part of the story. I wanted to hand it to him and just say bye, because I was like, I'll get his contact, because he actually offered to add me to a private audio group in Atlanta that only has like 458 members in it, and he helped me search for it, and then after I found it, he's like, I'll approve you in there. So I was like, once he approves me, I'll know what his name is on Facebook, so I don't have to worry about getting his name, so I can just get out. But he didn't approve me, or like I think what made it looks like there's one admin, and he probably had to like send a request to the admin to approve me. Maybe that's why I didn't have it instantly. So I was like, shit, I need his name. I mean, shoot, I don't want to cuss, but then like as I was leaving, he spelled out his name for me. And I don't know if I think I was probably like spacing out. I could have sworn he said Joui. Could have sworn that's what he said, but because he said his name was Joey, and so I typed it in, and he looked at it, he said, oh no, it's like Joey. So maybe I just misheard him. That's probably what it was, yeah, because like my mind was so in shock I couldn't even hear correctly.
If you haven't heard of Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain why. It's free. Anchor provides you tools that record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. It distributes your podcast to be heard on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Quite simply, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And now, back to the show.
So he spelled his last name. I added him, and the craziest connection is between us. I gotta ask about this. Somebody that I know who I believe they went to Berry College, that I used to perform speeches with, because Berry College is one of the biggest public speaking schools in Georgia. And we're a mutual friend. We have one mutual friend, and it was that guy. And I've talked to that guy since college, but that's just so crazy that we are a mutual friend. But the last part, like I was so into my own while walking out of the building. Like after he's like, great to meet you, definitely hit me up. I'm walking out of the building, and I'm like frantically typing in my phone to add him and blah 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 with something else I was doing, and I was going back to the group the boom group or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And right as I finished, I put my phone in my pocket and looked up, and there were 2 actresses in front of me that were preparing to walk into the building on the next scene. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And I just I was just like, oh my God, and they just laughed at me because that's when millennials just walk and look down at our phones. But,
yeah. You about ran into them because you're on your phone and texting?
Almost like I was. If I would have walked for maybe 6 more seconds, I would have to them. But it's funny that even happened because what I typically do, I started doing that at work since I work and walk at the same time. I made it normal to actually hold my phone upright so that way I can see my peripherals or whatever, even though it looks hard to do that. Yeah.
I got you.
At least you're aware because the data center you can't bump into stuff.
Right.
But then as soon as I got in the car, I drove for maybe 2 minutes, I think, and you hit me up. Here we are.
Awesome, man. I'd say that's the best intro I've heard just yet.
That's not what we were supposed to talk about, but I was like,
I don't care. However we start the podcast is that's how it's starting. Even when I hit you up, I was like, hey, it's going to take me a minute to jump on. But I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and hit the link. My data's about run out for the month. There's 8 days in it. And then maybe I have less than 10% because I've got 5 gigs to where I don't spend a lot for it. But as I probably do this, I may upgrade if I need to do the podcast remote, say from the car or wherever I am. And I was like, hey, let me just jump on here. So I went ahead, clicked the link in my calendar, and I was like, let me try my shot at the introduction. So when I send you this file, I'll have a rough intro. It's hey, I'm talking to Ron. This is how I know him. We go back about 11 years. He's the first person that I met in college. He was my RA, resident assistant. He showed me the ropes about what to do. And it's if it works, cool. If it doesn't, hey, fix it on the next one. Just keep it moving.
That's it.
And what's funny is that I did some organization yesterday, kind of preparing for the one I'm supposed to put out today. And I just went through date by date. You know how we are engineers, you have that organizational mindset. So I went ahead and I just made a mini spreadsheet in this Microsoft Office app called OneNote, where you just put stuff in there and it always saves it as it's running on your computer to where you don't have to save a separate file, but it'll categorize it or whatnot. But essentially I was okay, let me put down the count recording number, the guest, the date I recorded the podcast, and then put the release date next to it. So since I started on the 1st of October, I was okay, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. I'm going to release one. And I was okay, so right now, by the time that I'm doing this recording with you, this is number 24. And if I keep the schedule, this is going to come out March 10th of 2020. What? So I'm okay, we've organized it well enough to where there's enough content for this year. And not only that, but if I have a chance to do the editing I want, this may be the first week where I can release today's and then kind of chop the video into little parts to just be oh, okay, this video might be or audio may be an hour or 2 hours and a half. So I'll put that out there and then I'll just say, oh, here's 15 minutes of it. Here's another 15 minutes. Here's another 15 minutes to where you get a quick story. And it's oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Maybe I want to hear it all the way through, or hey, maybe I don't even want to bother with that, but giving people options to kind of start to get feedback to say, okay, this is what's working, this is what's not. And then if anything needs to move it around. But I don't know if I mentioned that as I'm I took some time off of work, and now that I've gone back to doing the job hunting and having my head on straight, there's a possible job out there, and it's I don't want to jinx it, but if it comes up, I may have a chance to be either in the country or out of the country. And by the end of this year, if I go ahead and finish what I want to finish, I can have this entire year and 2020 mapped out to where put it out automatically and just let it do its thing. And then if I need to get in contact with somebody to just say hey, can you manage this while I'm out? They'll manage it and then do the same thing, start with the real estate and say, hey, this is my plan. Let me find an attorney. Let me set up the LLC. Let me do basically putting systems in place, because it's the whole reason we went to school is to learn how to operate in a system. But sometimes we get stuck in the mentality of like, oh, they didn't tell me this, they didn't tell me that. It's like, okay, no, like now the game's flipped, because it's like, although they didn't tell me, I got around people that were in the same position like Eric Thomas, and it's like, okay, they didn't tell me what to do, but somebody else like told me, somebody else put me on the right track. And it's like, he says he always highlights the GED because that's where things change for him. He's like, I took a GED, turned it into a 4-year degree, took the 4-year degree, turned it into a master's degree, took the master's degree and turned that into a PhD, and now taking the PhD to turn that into a Nobel Peace Prize. And it's like, just watching that whole progression that he's doing, if you see what he's doing online now, it's not far-fetched that he's going to get the Nobel Prize. That's why he's the hip-hop preacher. He's literally a preacher, which I didn't know that at first. I mean, like, I didn't know it consciously because I was like, oh, I'm just watching his videos on YouTube and I'm excited about it. But, like, the more I kept watching it, I was like, this sounds so much like the things my dad's telling me, but sometimes it's easier to receive something from somebody outside of your family because they have, like, a different tone. I was like, okay, like he's cool with it. Like he's got the hat, he's got the shirt and the shorts. He looks like me. He's a black man. Like he's from Detroit. I'm not from there, but it's like a lot of the things he's saying I identify with. And then when he speaks to you, it's like he's speaking in the camera, but he's like refined his craft over and over and over and over. And he started with putting the YouTube videos out. Like they were doing that, where his videographer at the time is like one of his main guys that he started with, Carl Phillips. And every time that he speaks, he always talks about Carl because he recognizes the value in the person recording it. Because he's like, yeah, I might have the voice and the presence, but if there isn't anybody filming this, like, it doesn't matter. Like I could be doing this in my corner. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sweet. It's like nobody knows you. Just kind of seeing that and just seeing the different levels to the progression. It's like when you really start to study somebody, it really it really takes your mind to a whole nother level. And one thing that he said recently, I was watching one of the TGIMs that they like clipped from one of his events. And he was talking to educators specifically. And he's always been in the school system. And one thing that he said was that he didn't get the PhD to be a speaker. He's like, to be a speaker, you don't need a PhD. But he said he understood studying somebody like Malcolm X. You can't hear me?
No, I was saying, like, I agree with you. Yeah, I know that technically you don't actually need any degree to be a public speaker.
Right. But what he said, which like hit me, like I was like, wow, I got to send this to my sisters that are educators. But like he talked about putting the mask on you first. Like you got to take care of you before you go and you take care of students. And like you're in this vital position where you're making this heavy sacrifice to, like, you could have taken a few more classes and you could have gone and been a doctor, you could have been a lawyer, you could have had like this high esteem. But it's like, he's basically empowering. Like before he was empowering the students, but he noticed that, hey, there's a gap here. Like I might be talking to these students to kind of encourage them and tell them, okay, like here's how you can do this. But if I can talk to the teachers that are teaching the students, and if I can get them better, then they have the tools to be able to like take what I'm saying and use it once I'm gone. Because like if I'm not there, I've got to give somebody something that they can work with. And if they need me to come back, it's like, okay, you've already added value into my life. Of course, I'm going to call you back and be like, oh, come speak. And not only come speak for free, but like, I want to write you a check now. And I guess I said all that, I kind of got off topic, but what he said was that he understood that he needed to get a PhD in order to change a culture. And when you talk about like the Black community or the Black culture where you see certain things are a certain way, he says before he had something like the St. Louis incident where he was going and trying to talk to these kids and they're just bugging out. Like kids don't want to hear speakers speak or anything like that. He's like, they're over here acting a fool or whatnot. And he's just like, he just shut it down for a minute. Like, okay, shut everything down. Like, you guys had a rapper here yesterday and they came here to take from you. Like, I don't want anything for you. It's like, there's not many people that look like you that come to speak to you and show you that they care. Like, I'm coming here for free. There's corporations that pay me $100,000 for an hour of my time. Like, I'm giving you more than that time for free to show you that I care. And you guys acting a fool in here being disrespectful, that's not helping me, and that's not helping you. And the thing that he really touched with their heart. Did you see that?
Sent me this clip. I think, like, I remember, like, did he do that at more than one school? He did that at one school when he said that.
Well, I'm sure he must have said it in more than one school, but I know there was one video that went viral, and it was like St. Louis, and I think it's called like Nothing Funny. But essentially, so he just put out this new book, which is called You Ain't the Boss of Me. And essentially it's supposed to be geared towards elementary school kids and high school kids, to where it's like it's simple enough for them to understand. But the thing that's powerful about like this book and something like Who Moved My Cheese, that I was referred to that by him watching one of his videos talking about what's your crossover, and making it a specific suggestion, where he talks in this video and he says like, okay, he's talking to a group of kids and he's like, how many of you hate being told what to do? And he's like, 90% of them raise their hand. And that's just not kids, that's like every adult. Like, people hate being told what to do. It's like, don't tell me how to drive, don't tell me what signs to read. Like, you go up to read a menu. Like, I worked at this coffee shop for 3 years, and people would come up. We have a menu out before you get up to the window. Once you get up to the window, there's another menu there that you can look up at it and make your selections. And then there's a menu at the register where we can kind of use it as a cheat sheet. And you can hand them a menu, like a physical menu, if they come to either window, because it's like this little cabin that you're in. And then if they walk up, they can stare at the menu to make their decisions. But I got frustrated initially on the job, where I was like, why do people just walk up here? It's like, we've got signs everywhere, but they don't read the signs. They're just like, oh, let me get a caramel macchiato. And I'm like, this isn't Starbucks. But my manager was like, don't even sweat. Like, whatever they want, you're better off like studying the Starbucks menu, because at least they want to come here and get the coffee, because it's like we're open early and they can come in. Like, the 5 a.m. rush it's real. But once Starbucks kind of set up outside our city, like on both ends of town, like, okay, people know they can go here and go there and get exactly what they want. They basically like suffocated us but whatever. It's all fair in games. It's part of the game. But I guess I said all that to say, like, watching somebody not being like inundated with knowledge, kind of like where we are, where it's that you may grow up in a stable home, or you may grow up to where like education is preached, but you don't have a clear understanding of what education is. And you just like, okay, I've got to go to school, get good grades, get into a good college, get a good job, pay off my student loans, or like get married, like have the American dream. And it's like the world's changed.